Good afternoon and welcome to Conversations on Showing Up for Kids. My name is Tim Markle. I'm the director of the Southern Regional Center for Children and Youth with Special Health Care Needs. We're one of 5 regional centers throughout the state of Wisconsin, serving families who have children with special health care needs, children and youth with special health care needs, as well as the professionals who help those families out. Want to remind you that we are being recorded, so please try not to say any personal identifiable health information or any information that you do not want out on the web forever and ever and ever. Also, I am not a medical professional, nor am I a lawyer, nor is anybody on this a medical professional lawyer. So please do not take this as medical advice or legal advice. We are just bunches of people who are passionate and having a conversation. So with that, I want to introduce you to the conversation we're going to have today. I am very excited to have the executive directors of the Autism Societies of Wisconsin, the affiliates that serve the families throughout Wisconsin. As we talk about autism during Autism Acceptance Month, which we're celebrating in April, one of the things that comes up is how do you talk about people? Number one, in my life, I try not to talk about people. I try to talk to people. And so when we deal with languages, you'll hear the difference between a person first language and a disability first language. And I got to tell you, folks, is the only way to really know how to refer to somebody, if you're going to refer to them, is to ask them how they would like to be referred to. I have people in my life who they prefer to be called autistic adults. They call themselves, they say, I'm autistic. That is part of their identity, who they are. I have other people who prefer to use a term such as a child with autism or a child with a disability. In this day and age, neither are right or wrong. What's important is there a respect behind that usage? And if you have the opportunity to clarify with the person how they would like to be referred to, please do that. Don't just assume that you know. And gosh darn it all, don't argue with them. If they want to be called something that you think is wrong, it's not wrong, it's theirs. Families get to refer to their children as they want to refer to them. People get to refer to themselves as they want to refer to them as. Do not try to correct them for not using what you believe to be the correct language. That's my disclaimer, because during this conversation, I will probably use both terms because I'm comfortable with both terms, and I have people in my life who refer to themselves using both terms. But let's start now with this April as Autism Acceptance Month, which is really cool, except for the fact that I've spent years in the past celebrating Autism Awareness Month. And so now we've switched to Autism Acceptance Month. Now, I know this change isn't to confuse people, but why are we now looking at acceptance over awareness? And feel free to introduce yourself as you answer questions so we know which affiliate you're with.
Hi, I'm Emily Levine. I'm with the Autism Society of Southeastern Wisconsin, serving the 9 counties in the southeastern corner of the state, and our office is in suburban Milwaukee. So I'm also a parent, and when my son was diagnosed in 1991 or 1992, autism was considered a low incidence disability, and I was quoted a figure of 2 in 10,000. And we know now that it's 1 in 54 is the current prevalence number. So back when Autism Awareness Month started, people really did not know the term autism, did not know what it was and what it looked like and what it was about. And I think that over the years, it has become better understood, and it's a good starting point, but it's not sufficient. We want people, being aware of autism is important, but we really want our friends and loved ones to have opportunities, to have friends, to have jobs, to be accepted wherever they go. So, we're looking for more than just, we know what this disability means.
Thank you. So that whole sense of acceptance is people being able to have jobs and being out in their community. That's part of acceptance. So beyond awareness, just awareness of this disability, this condition, this function, how the body functions, how the brain functions, that we all have, our brains function differently, and autism is that spectrum of function as well. What else would you say has to do with acceptance? What are some other important parts of acceptance?
Yes, I'm Kirsten Cooper. I'm with the Autism Society of Greater Wisconsin, and we serve the northern 53 counties in Wisconsin. And I just wanted to add a little bit, when we talk about acceptance, we're hoping for more action orientation this April. So awareness is often really passive, just knowing that something exists. And you might be aware of a classmate, a coworker, a neighbor that has autism. And acceptance, we're really hoping, is taking that next step of how can you make the world a better place for autistic people to live? How can you be more accepting of those with autism in your life? And what changes can you make to build more inclusive and supportive communities?
I love that word, inclusion. I think that is a key word to acceptance, is that it's not just, oh, there's someone there, but it's how is this person, how am I involved in their life? How are they involved in my life? How are they involved in the community life around them? And that's where inclusion comes in, is it's not just, having somebody present, but it's actually including them in the life that is going on around them. Any final thoughts on it? Yeah, go ahead, Kirsten.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so I think an important part of inclusion is changing, adding in supports that can help someone be included. So not asking the person to change who they are and not asking them to change, but helping to change the environment and building in supports when they're needed. Huge piece of inclusion.
Well, and that's if we design it so that everybody's included, well, then everybody's included. We don't have to do piecemeal, oh, this person needs this for this or this. If we set it up in the beginning so that all people have access, all people have inclusion, all people are valued, then that includes our kiddos with autism. So Kirsten, that we haven't heard from yet, anything on acceptance?
Yeah, so I'm Kirsten Engel. I'm the executive director at the Autism Society of South Central Wisconsin. We serve South Central and Southwestern Wisconsin, kind of from Dane County over to the Mississippi River. One thing, that I thought of just as you guys were talking, that is another piece that for acceptance is for the individual with autism as well. And, helping them feel more comfortable on who they are and how disability is becoming such a part of people's identity and accepting that within themselves. So I think that's an important piece too when we talk about acceptance. I think acceptance is kind of the natural next step past awareness. I think everybody's pretty aware of what autism is. Obviously, there can always be more education around it, but I think the logical next step is acceptance, and it goes for the community as well as for the individuals who are have autism.
Oh, I love that. Very well said. Now, I know that all three of these affiliates are celebrating Autism Acceptance Month and celebrating autism and the people in our lives. What is sort of the mission and the vision of the affiliates besides, once a month in April celebrating autism? I think you guys probably have other things that you do 11 of those other months out of the year. So why do we have autism affiliates?
We offer a lot of support and training information. We have a helpline, so people can call, and we maintain an extensive resource directory of everything from diagnosticians to places you can get your hair cut that might be a little more patient and understanding, to how to get connected with your county and what benefits you might be entitled to, things like that. And I know when I first was a new parent, I felt very alone. I didn't know anybody who had a child like my child. I felt kind of incompetent. Like, why wasn't the parenting that I knew how to do working for my kid? So I felt really bad. Let's put it that way. And getting connected with other families was hugely important for me in terms of understanding my son, understanding myself, and finding strategies that would work for me. And now that I work for the Autism Society, we really have that as one of the central tenets of our mission, which is improving the lives of all affected by autism. So for the people with autism themselves, as well as their families, we want to increase a sense of connectedness, and that you're not always going to have to figure this out yourself. The burden shouldn't always be on the person with a disability to figure out how to get what they need. It has to be a community-wide effort, and that there are people that have done this before that you can connect with, and we can help each other. And that goes from just one-on-one support to your school district, to your community, to the state and federal government, in terms of advocating for laws that are supportive of people with all disabilities.
Yeah, I think that was beautifully put. And the one thing I'll add is that one of the main reasons we're here is to provide that sense of community for individuals with autism and their families and professionals that support them all year round. Provide events, spaces, opportunities for connection where autism is accepted and welcomed, and people feel that sense of community, that they belong.
Yeah, and I would just add too, because I think I'm probably the newest executive director. I've only been with this position two years now. But one of the things that I was really drawn to and I appreciate about the Autism Society is really the community, but also that, we have parents who have children on the spectrum involved in pretty much every aspect of our organization. We have adults on the spectrum who are involved. So it's really people who have that peer support, people who kind of live it every day. I think there's real value in that to families.
So that's interesting, because when I first started out in some of this, it seemed like it was all about the parents of young children with autism. And that seemed to be the focus of a lot of events of Autism Society and conferences and everything. But that's really grown, hasn't it? It's not just these little children have grown up to become adults. So are you guys doing stuff to support those adults on the spectrum as well as the families?
Yeah, absolutely. We aim to serve individuals and families from diagnosis all the way through adulthood. And so we're hosting programs that serve the lifespan.
What are some examples of those sort of events or programs for adults?
So for us, we have actually a really large population of adults. We almost have more adults contacting us regularly than we do families right now, which is interesting. But a lot more people, I think, are getting diagnosed later in life. But two of the things that we have a support group that's peer run that meets once a month. And then we also have a social group. So young adults can get together and they go do for ice cream, or they go to the zoo, or they go to the bar, or, different things that, adults do. But it's just a way to kind of get some peer support and learn from each other.
We also have an adult social group called SWAN, and they meet the first and third Wednesdays of every month. And they that group has been together with different people, but we've been running that group for 20 years. So I would push back a little bit against Tim's thing that everything the Autism Society has done has been for little kids. So we do have that, and we also have autistic leadership on our board. So we, for many years, have had leadership that has and employees in the past. We don't have any now, but we've always tried to keep that in mind, that that saying nothing about us without us. We want to have be respectful of that point of view, and the point of view is very different from the point of view of a parent. So we have to keep both in mind, and yeah.
Yeah, so in the Autism Society of Greater Wisconsin is a little bit unique because we have 5 local groups under our umbrella. So that includes a West Central group that's in the Eau Claire area, Central Wisconsin in the Wausau and surrounding area, Fox Valley, Northeast Wisconsin in Green Bay, and a Lakeshore affiliate in the Manitowoc, Sheboygan area. And, depending on each of those groups, they also host social and support groups for different age groups. So from, parent support groups for families that are new to autism, all the way to support groups and social events for adults.
That's a lot of stuff going on. You guys seem like you probably keep yourselves pretty busy, 12 months out of the year, which is fantastic. I want to talk a little bit about Autism Acceptance, go back to Autism Acceptance Month, and knowing that you might have some special events or some recognitions or things that you are doing around Autism Acceptance Month. And I want to give you the chance to let people know about those, even though I know April's going to end and this is going to stay on forever. And it's going to be really weird when somebody listens. This is October, but we're going to do it anyway. So what are you guys doing to celebrate Autism Acceptance Month? What sort of stuff's going on?
So every April we have our annual gala. This year we're having an ungala. We're having a screening of the movie called The Reason I Jump, which is based on the book with the same title, which was written by a Japanese non-speaking teenager. And it's a documentary, and it's just really interesting, really well done film that came out in late 2020 and obviously hasn't been released in theaters. So it's a first run movie. It'll be April 17th at 7 p.m. And you can register on our website, assew.org/ungala-2021. And, the registration includes a party pack with popcorn and candy for your viewing. And if you live in the Milwaukee area, all the Cafe Hollanders in Milwaukee and suburban Milwaukee will be giving, if you purchase certain items, we'll get a percentage of that money donated back to the Autism Society. So that's all on that website if you're interested.
Cool. And Cafe Hollander is really good food. And I'm now hungry, just so you know. Thank you for that, Emily. I really appreciate that, as I'm, still going to be here for, 15 to 20 more minutes and my stomach will start growling. That sounds really, and I love the title Ungala, just so you know, I love it. So that link is in the chat box. People can find that if they're watching live now, and we will of course link it when we post the video. So what else is happening across Wisconsin for Autism Acceptance Month?
Oh, it's always who's going to get to their unmute first.
I feel like I'm on a game show. It's like ask a question, see who rings their buzzer first. I love this.
So I'll go quickly next. So we have our annual walk, One Walk, Big Strides for Autism, that is kind of a hybrid this year. It's going to be the week of April 17th through the 25th. And we have actually small groups meeting. So people are planning their own teams and they're meeting in their own communities versus us trying to do well, we can't obviously because of COVID do one big walk right now, but we are allowed to do some smaller ones. So we have teams set up and like on the university, and then different families have different areas where they're setting things up, and we're bringing balloons and cupcakes and just helping people kind of celebrate differences, which is our theme this year. And yeah, so that's taking up a big chunk of our April. We also have some educational things that we're doing. I don't know if there's specifically for Autism Acceptance Month, but we kind of do them every now and then too. We have some trainings that we're offering some nonprofits just to provide more education for them about what autism is and how to be more inclusive. And we're also doing a couple pizza fundraisers. So
Again with the food. Kristen, please tell me you're not doing anything with food because I'm already really hungry.
No food related events here. We are really excited about our upcoming annual conference. It is going to be virtual for the second year in a row. So we are partnering with the Autism Society of Minnesota to host our conference. It's called Inform, Influence, and Innovate Together in 2021. It will be April 21st through the 24th. It's exciting because our partnership with the Minnesota affiliate means that we can make it a little bit bigger. We have 5 keynotes this year. Temple Grandin as our featured keynote on Friday. We'll also have Lydia XZ Brown, the neurodivergent teacher that has a big following on Facebook and Instagram. Peter Vermeulen, and also Wally and Audrey Elegbeed. And over 30 breakout sessions throughout the conference on a wide range of topics related to autism. And even though we won't see our community in person, we're excited that the virtual platform allows some more accessibility. So all of the sessions will be recorded, and people can access those for up to a month after the event. We'll also be providing live captioning and translation to Spanish in the captioning, and English and Spanish transcripts will be available after the conference as well. So that's some exciting parts. Also for the month of April, we're doing some partner recognition. We just announced a partnership with the Appleton International Airport, recognizing them as an autism-friendly communities partner. We were there on Tuesday, and they just unveiled 2 quiet rooms in their airport. So one before TSA and one afterwards, where families can go in and use the space if they need a sensory break or just a place to regulate. And our local Autism Society of the Fox Valley provided some fidgets that families can take with them as they travel as well. And then we'll be highlighting some other partners throughout the month as well that are doing great work for inclusion and accessibility.
That is really cool. And I have a feeling maybe there might be other ideas now that you each have talked. Is there anything else that you guys want to add? I don't want to just give you the one and done on your events.
Well, we're all working together for a statewide project, which is to have the governor proclaim April Autism Acceptance Month. So we have that proclamation, and we are going to be having a virtual event recognizing that proclamation with the lieutenant governor and I think is Senator Ruff. Okay, I wasn't sure that was confirmed.
Yep.
So it's a bipartisan event, and we want to, thank everybody who's worked. All the affiliates worked together to do this symbolic event to recognize the importance of inclusion and acceptance of autistic individuals in our communities.
Yeah, so we'll be That event will be next Tuesday, April 13th at noon. And you can access it through any of our Facebook pages.
Sorry, just had to write that one down before I forgot it. So thank you. That's like breaking news. Nice job, way to time it correctly. So we're just gonna wrap up a little bit, leave some time for questions from other people or questions you can ask each other. But one of the takeaways that I'm really getting from this conversation is that no matter where you are in Wisconsin, there is a group of people who want to help you along this journey. If you are affected, if you have someone in your life who has autism, that there's help, there's support, there's ideas, there's some cool stuff going on. And I apologize that my language is sometimes clunky. But I just really, I love the fact that wherever people are, families have that place of support. But I also want to just, if you had the chance to say something to not just the families that are out there, but there are professionals who work daily in education and in therapy and county workers. This is horrible to ask a question that I didn't prep you for, but if they would call one of y'all, what sort of help are they going to receive? How do you help the professionals that are out there as well?
So it's tricky because professionals have to be willing to hear a point of view that might be different than what they were trained as. And particularly, we have a lot of people who have been trained that autism and non-conforming individuals need to be fixed, need to be made to conform. And so I think if they are, and that doesn't work. It's like trying to pound a square peg into a round hole. It damages the peg and isn't successful. So that is our main message is we do work with professionals all the time, and we want them to come to a place of understanding and of respect. That's my bottom line is kind of respect.
Yeah, I agree. And I would say one of my messages for professionals, everything that Emily said, but I encourage everyone to follow autistic advocates and learn from adults with autism as much as they can.
Yeah, that's to learn about somebody, you have to get to know somebody. You're not going to really learn about anything about a person until you actually meet the person. That's a great point. Anything else on professionals before we open it up to questions? All right, if you do have a question, please feel free to unmute, or you can put it into the chat box, and I will read it off for you if you don't feel like talking online. So as we wait for, I'm looking, see if anybody is unmuting or putting it in chats, always an awkward moment. And usually I have, something really wonderful to say in a comment, and I just don't today. So just, some days are like that. Okay. So the question is, what is the term to reference someone with autism or autistic? That was a big discussion last weekend. So I know you came on a little late, and I did talk a little bit about that, but you guys, I know, have to deal with, you have this question come up quite often. So what's up with this language? Is it with autism? Is it autistic? How can we be right? I want to be right.
So there's no right.
Oh, damn.
On that, I'm reconciled to whatever I say, somebody's going to correct me. So what I generally refer to, there's an organization called the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network with ASAN, and they have on their website, they have an article about identity first language that I send to people all the time. It just talks about, from an autistic adult's point of view, why they use that term, and why they prefer that term. And by far, the adults that we work with all prefer autistic over person with autism. If I'm talking at a university or a school setting, they will always correct me and say, that's disrespectful. You should put the identity first. You should put the person first. And the response to that is, if you can't remember that my kid is a person, that's your problem. That is disrespectful on its face, right? Like, why do we have person first to remind ourselves that these are people? What is up with that? That was some well-intentioned academics' idea to try to increase respect for children with this particular disability. And since we're talking terminology, I'll put one more plug in. Use the word disabled. There's nothing wrong with the word disabled. The word special needs, while well-intentioned, is othering. It is saying that this child has needs that other children don't have, or this adult has needs that nobody else has, and that's not true. We all have the same needs. We might need different supports, but in terms of human beings, we have the same needs. And it's a euphemism because people don't like the word disabled, but disability is a part of the human condition, and the more we use it, the more we destigmatize it. We can't pretend that it's something that we don't talk about. That gets internalized by people with disabilities as shame. So we want to talk about it, destigmatize it.
I'll have you talk to my funders because I totally agree with you.
And I was just going to add what Tim said in the beginning was ask the person, what they prefer, because a lot of adults prefer autistic, whereas it seems like the younger families prefer a child with autism. So I think it's really about personal preference, and just ask them and follow their lead and respect what they, choose, how they choose to be identified. But it is tricky. I get it. It's hard to know.
When, like Tim said at the beginning, a huge piece of this is respecting a person's personal preference. So as part of Autism Acceptance Month, I think that's a good thing to highlight. If someone tells you what they prefer, please respect it and don't argue. And I wanted to add that I put the article that Emily referenced in the chat. It's a great article. We use it all the time too.
Any other questions? If not, y'all get to start preparing your final statements. Your final thing that you can say. I know it sounds so ominous. Okay, I am not.
I have
Yeah, go
statement,
Tracy.
if that's okay, or question.
Yeah, please.
So, in my professional life, I work with children with vision loss, and so I believe in the model of, we have some families who come in and say, this is the first friend my child has ever had, which is like, just, it breaks my heart to think that, but I'm happy that they feel like they're part of this community. And so, so from my perspective that way with little kids, but now as a parent of a child with a special need and recently diagnosed with autism, how do I bring that kind of philosophy into the school district of where my child goes? Do you have any suggestions about that?
So I think that's a discussion you should have in your IEP meeting. A lot of times we focus on academics, which is important. I'm not saying that's not important, but to look at the whole person, the student needs to feel that they have belonging. And you can go back and pull out Maslow's hierarchy if you need to. People need to feel safe and they need to feel that they belong before they can learn. And when we just talk about academics and we say, the social piece has to be done at home, or that isn't the job of the school, you get it back to the basics, get it back to this is what we know about learning. Just about everybody's heard of Maslow's hierarchy. Google it if you don't have it. And basically, inclusion isn't sitting next to somebody. It's not just proximity. There has to be some kind of scaffolding and support to have positive interactions, especially for our students that also may have disabilities, with intellectual disabilities, and maybe have are non-speaking or have fewer words, there needs to be some facilitation of those relationships. And we also need to talk about including not only not just saying relationships with typical kids, but also relationships with other kids with other types of disabilities. I think when my son was young, he internalized, not on purpose, but he internalized that being like the other kids and being friends with typical students was our goal for him. And that was not how I was framing it in my mind, but that's how he picked it up. So if he had to go to the resource room for a break, he internalized that as a failure. So, you know, that's a thorny thing with inclusion. We're saying as long as you act like everybody else, you're okay. And if you need a break, or if you act in a way that is unexpected, you get booted. That's not really inclusion. That's kind of how it's being implemented in a lot of schools.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, we've had some luck, and one thing that we're trying to do more of is having disability included in diversity, because a lot of schools have diversity groups and diversity councils or whatever. I mean, everybody has a different name for it, but making sure that disability is included in diversity, I think, is really important to kind of help foster that peer acceptance.
All right, we are coming up against the end of our time together. And so I'll give you each a chance to say whatever you want to say. Just close, one at a time, close this out, because I really do believe you guys are at the heart of supporting our families throughout Wisconsin. So I thank you for that. And seems that we'll fall back on the order that we seem to have been going so far. So Emily, final thoughts.
I would just say, think about all ways you can include your child, and not just at school. I mean, I think school can be such a battle, and look for things that your child enjoys or interests that they have, and really nurture them, and then seek out families through your Autism Society or through your community. However, find other people that share that interest. You can always, even if it's unusual interest, if it's watching trains, or if it's watching airplanes, or riding elevators, whatever it is, find something that your child enjoys and nurture that, because so much of the message that our kids get is what not to do. And so I feel that is fundamentally damaging to them to have that attitude. So, look for positives, look for interests, and nurture them.
Thank you. Kirsten.
I would just encourage everyone to reach out to the Autism Society with any questions, or if you're looking to connect with others on the same journey, or just looking to have a conversation. We are always here and willing to connect with our communities in whatever way they need. Open to all conversations. And I want to thank Tim for the opportunity to be here too.
And Kirsten, final words.
I would just kind of echo what Emily and Kirsten said as well, but also just to think of the Autism Society as a resource and a place to go for help and support, and pretty much any question that you have, we're here to answer and support you through the process. And we have people who have been there and been through the process that can really support you. So feel free to reach out to any of us. I think each one of us kind of offers the same type of support, and yeah.
Cool. Well, I want to thank you all for taking time out of your busy time, especially during this busy month when you all have these huge, massive events that you are planning, as well as just the normal day in and day out of families and professionals seeking help and insight. So thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for the people that showed up and asked questions. We love the interaction. Thank you so very much. So just remember, it is Autism Acceptance Month in April, and we all have our little differences. Trust me, if you know me, you know I do. Doesn't mean that I'm less than anything. Nobody is less than another. So let's honor each other, respect each other, and accept each other this month. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to stop the recording. Please hang on so that I can do other goodbyes. If you need to go, you need to go. I totally understand. Thank you.